I'm Rip Esselstyn, and you're listening to the Plant Strong podcast. Do you happen to be hungry right now? I sure hope so, because you are in for a fun one today. We're going to head into the kitchen with Dr. Christy Funk and Chrissy Roth to make some tasty tofu ricotta and a luscious lasagna right after these words from Plant Strong. Plant Strong listeners, I've got a special deal just for you. For a limited time, you can save 20 rockin' % on our 6-packs of peanut curry secret sauce. This is your pantry's secret weapon against bland and boring meals, and you're going to be the first to hear about this exclusive deal. And this isn't just any old sauce. This is our unique blend of spices that's mixed with peanut flour, and it creates this rich, flavorful sauce that's big on taste, super low in fat. And this sauce, it allows you to whip up mouth-watering skillet dinners in just minutes. If you've seen some of my Instagram posts, you've seen what I've been able to do with the secret sauce, with my stir fries. It is incredible. Don't wait. This offer is only going to be available through Monday, November 4th at midnight or until we run out. You can use the code SECRET, 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 and then go to plantstrong.com. And again, get 20% off your 6-pack of peanut curry secret sauce and elevate your meals today. I have been knee-deep in the plant-based world for well over 2 decades, and I love how the plant-based space is full of so many amazing people with energy, a zest for life, and a treasure trove of knowledge that you just can't resist. Dr. Christy Funk and Chrissy Roth are 2 of these gems, and I have a special treat for you during this Breast Cancer Awareness Month. As many of you know, Dr. Christy Funk is a well-known breast cancer and plant-based advocate in the LA area. She and Chrissy Roth, who is a physical therapist, a cycling instructor, and a fellow plant-based advocate, they get together and cook frequently on Dr. Funk's Pink Lotus Power Up YouTube channel, which I'll be sure to link to in today's show notes. They came together a few months ago for our annual Plant Stock celebration and spent over an hour with me cooking tofu ricotta, a gorgeous lasagna, and a super simple veggie salad. But I also got to ask them questions about their lives, their work, and to bring the good news about plants to as many people as possible. And because we are highlighting Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I wanted to share this interview because Dr. Funk answers so many questions that I had about risk factors, the causes of cancer, and lifestyle interventions that we can employ to ensure many years of healthy living. It's a really fun and delicious demo, but it's also super informative. So I wanted you to hear it and also potentially watch it. Now, because they're cooking throughout this episode, you're going to hear some background noise and descriptions of what they're doing. I would highly encourage you to watch the episode. I'll drop the YouTube link and the recipes in the show notes of today's episode, but I just know you're going to gobble it up. Chrissy Roth and Dr. Christy Funk, welcome to Plant Stock 2024. So fantastic to have you guys be part of this year's Brock Star lineup. And, you know, you guys are impressive on a number of levels. But firstly, let me say, it is like, what is it, 7:15 a.m. in California right now?
Yeah, it's a little rough, Red. Not gonna lie. I think we built up this early, but we don't have like a pile of mushrooms in front of us usually.
We have our PCRM, mushroom coffee, eat more plants. And then my favorite mug of all time, it says, "We are not ingredients." And it has these 4 little animals. Ethan, when he was 6, bought me this with his own money for Christmas.
Oh, that's so sweet. So sweet.
Yeah, and for those that don't know who Ethan is, that's one of your sons.
That's one of my triplet sons who are now 15.
Wow. I like
Chrissy,
that.
She always goes big. She's like, I'm not going to have one baby. I think I'll have 3. That's just how she rolls.
I just don't have time for 3 pregnancies. I'm efficient.
Now, for those that don't know Chrissy and Dr. Kristi, I want you to know that looking in the black with the cutoff sleeves, you've got what do you call that shirt you're wearing, Chrissy?
Okay.
Yeah. So that's Chrissy on the left, and that's Dr. Kristi on the right. For those that don't know, Chrissy Roth has been on the Plant Strong podcast twice. The first time was episode number 4. We were just getting started. We came out to your house, you and your husband, JD. For those that don't know, your husband was the founder and the creator of The Biggest Loser.
He was, yeah.
Right. And
transformational television shows, yeah.
Yeah. And you were the one to get him to transform along with your family to whole food plant-based, right?
Absolutely. Yep. That's exactly right. And that was about, 14 or 15 years ago. It's been a long time now.
Yeah. You guys are like, you're old guard now in the movement.
We are. That's for sure. Yeah.
And then you were also on episode 124, which I think you guys appeared in one of the Plant Stock episodes, and that may have been a replay of that. And then, of course, we've got Dr. Chrissy and Kristi. Wow, it's so close. It's incredible.
Well, people often think we're sisters, and we're like, yes, our mom couldn't think of a different name. Variations of Christine.
Chrissy. We'll name you Chrissy and Kristi, and that'll never be confusing.
Doctor. But Dr. Kristi, you have appeared 3 times. You were episode number 65, episode 114, and then 172. And for those that haven't had the privilege of listening to any of those, Dr. Kristi is the author of Breasts, the Owner's Manual, and it is absolutely brilliant and so wonderful. Yeah. And now you guys, how did you guys hook up and become friends?
So I was teaching this spin event. I taught spin forever, and I was teaching this spin event, 400 bikes on the Manhattan Beach Pier, or down by the Manhattan Beach Pier. I was one of the lead instructors, and she was a doctor to one of my really good friends. She was her surgeon. She did her breast mastectomy, and she's like, you need to meet my friend Kristi, and maybe she can ride with you, because I needed a cool rider to ride with me. And she rode with me, and then I think we were like, we should get together next weekend with our families. And we got together, and we played football on the beach, and we just and that was it. It was
fast friends after that.
Fast friends.
And
yeah.
That was 10 years ago.
Yeah, about 10 years ago.
Wow. And then when did you decide to launch your Cooking Live with Chrissy and Dr. Kristi?
We started that about 18 months ago. So it's called Cook Live with Chrissy and Dr. Kristi. And we just do a very similar setup to this, but we have 5 cameras going on. It's really kind of a fun show that my husband creates behind the scenes. And our focus is obviously entirely plant-based, but then to spotlight ingredients and dig a little deeper into studies and research and why mushrooms? Why is it okay to eat soy? Why whole grains? So we talk a little bit about that. We'll debunk myths. And that's our
take questions.
Little angle.
It's live. So we're taking questions from people, and it's pretty fun. And we always have fun together. So it's a good excuse to get together.
We have a great time.
I know. Just a little behind the scenes. So we were getting everything set up this morning, and all of a sudden we noticed a ladder in the background. So these two are out there moving this ladder, having an absolute ball.
I said to her, JD and our biggest fights I've ever had with my husband was moving things. He's like, can you help me move this table? And I'm going to work out and stuff, but I'll go to lift the table and I'm barely hanging on to it.
And this was a ladder, from here to heaven. So it was very long, and she was not understanding that we needed counterbalance.
And she's being so nice. She's like, oh, maybe if you move a little to the right, and it's just so long. Meanwhile, the ladder's about to fall on her head.
Yeah, I had a whole vision of it crashing crashing through this floor to ceiling.
No. Yeah. So did the tensions get high during that process? Or
No. Always peace and love.
Oh, good. We love that. Well, you guys, so I've invited you to be part of our Brockstar Chef lineup, and you're going to be cooking some recipes for us today. What are those recipes?
We are going to make, I make this, I've been making this lasagna for years and years. I kind of just came up with this tofu ricotta recipe that I love, and I make it all the time. So we're going to make like a tofu ricotta first, which is going to go in the lasagna, but we'll kind of show it to you because you can use it, and you make it too.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, and you can use it in like stuffed shells. You can use it on a cracker with some tomatoes. It's like ricotta cheese. It's delicious. It's very satisfying, and it's so healthy because it's like tofu, nutritional yeast, lemon juice. Like, but when you blend it all together, and especially when you bake it, it takes on that consistency of baked ricotta. It's so good. So good.
One of the things I love about the lasagna, though, is the marinara sauce. Today, we're sautéing and putting the veggies in. But you should know that this is like the most masterful of all recipes to hide as many veggies as you want in blended pureed form.
Yep.
Children, adults that grew up as picky children and never lost the pickiness, they all have no idea.
Yeah.
There was actually a study looking at like hidden vegetable techniques. And people consume 4.5 more vegetables using the hidden technique, and reported out no difference in like how much they found the food delightful and delicious. So there was no suffering in taste because of the veggies. And over the course of the next month, they ate about 400 fewer calories per day when they were eating hidden veggies.
Because they're getting all that fiber, they don't even know it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
it's something, and it's almost like the smoothie trick where you put the vegetables in the smoothie, right? But this time you're doing it in the lasagnas.
Exactly, in the sauce. So one time I got a little overzealous and I put so much zucchini that the sauce was basically a brown color. I got the red and the green just made like this muddy brown, and it did not fool Justin.
Yeah.
He was like, what is wrong with this sauce?
I know. I've been accused of doing that a lot. Like you try to like make something a little healthier. Like I used to make this banana bread, and it started with like just a very typical recipe
sugar or whatever.
Vegan banana bread. Yeah. And then I started cutting down the sugar, adding some applesauce. Then I started adding flax. And I was like, I got to get flax into my family, So I'm like, flax. And then this thing, slowly it turned into a brick. So I'm like, here's the banana bread. And I see everybody just kind of turn around and walk away. I'm like, what are you doing? So you do have, yes, you want to add healthy food, but it also has to be palatable.
Right. Details.
Oh, yes. Well, let me just start by saying, so tofu, you're using tofu.
Yes.
Chrissy, Dr. Kristi, what do you say to all the women out there, all the men out there that are afraid of soy and tofu because of the estrogen?
Can I give you my one-liner and then you'll give the science?
Yeah.
Okay, so my one-liner is you should be way more afraid to not eat tofu than eat tofu.
Oh, that is intriguing.
It is.
And she'll tell you why.
What does she mean? Well, so you're right. So we've got these phytoestrogens, plant-based estrogens, predominantly genistein and daidzein, that are found in tofu, but also all soy products. So soybeans, edamame, miso, natto, tempeh, and soy milk, right? This is typical. Soy milk and tofu are the main ways we consume it. And here's the deal. You say, what do we say? I say, I'm so sorry, because for 18 years, I was an anti-tofu person. Whoopsies. As a doctor, all I knew was that these phytoestrogens existed. So you may not know that 80% of all breast cancer is fed and fueled by estrogen. So I was like, how discriminating do you think this receptor is? It doesn't care if it came from your own ovary or your fat cells, which make estrogen, or horse urine, which is what we get our drug Prempro from, which we don't really use anymore. But anyway, the point is, do you think he cares? Oh, that's just genistein. Come on in, girl. Like, no, it just is going to make that cancer grow. Well, it did in mice. So I will say there was that. They used to graft. I'm against animal experimentation, but this happened, so learn from it. The mice were grafted with breast cancers, fed soy, and uniformly the tumors grew. So everyone was like, that was all I needed to tell women, how much do you love soy, lady? Like, it's out. Do almond milk. So what the science started to show was, we have two receptors for estrogen in our bodies. Alpha is on the cancer. Beta, with 1,600% more affinity, is hit by the phytoestrogens in soy. And activated beta does a few amazing things, one of which is to shut alpha down. So it actually becomes anti-breast cancer. It's an anti-estrogen in the way we think about bad estrogen on cancers. So in point of fact, all of the human studies have shown on average a 32% drop in breast cancer, occurrence, recurrence, and death for high versus low consumers. There's never been a single human study in soy that showed a detriment, an increase in breast cancer. And almost every single one is high, like 25 to 60% drop. I've rarely seen anything that's like, just a 10% drop, but everything is a drop. So we were wrong about the receptors. We're wrong about all products of soy. Just make sure it's organic and at the very least non-GMO. GMO soy is so dumped on with glyphosate that glyphosate potentiates breast cancer in its own right. So never non-GMO.
And what about in men?
No, I'm sorry. Never. Not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Never organic and never GMO.
So also a lot of men, and I know it's like rampant on the internet again. These
man boobs.
The influencers are saying, right. I can't eat soy because of the man boobs. So
that's not true.
Dispel that as well.
Yeah, Dr. Messina, who's a fabulous soy researcher, did a huge meta-analysis that came out in 2020 that looked at 417 all-human studies and soy. It wasn't just focused on breast cancer, it was all of it. Ovulation in women, semen levels in men, little man boobs, which people like me call gynecomastia. Then it also looked at endocrine disruption. People say they have thyroid problems, can't have soy. And what they concluded with this 417 powered study was that there's absolutely no endocrine disruption with the consumption of soy.
Isn't that something else? So it actually can regulate the hormonally active compounds in our bodies. And Kristi, how do you dream about these numbers and stats and studies? How do you recite them like that? I mean, do you practice them when you're on the spin bike? I mean, that's remarkable.
I think about the studies a lot. I may dream about them. It could be true. I lecture a lot. And some of these are just factoids that have become.
She can also read something and then spit the stats out like 2 days later.
Wow.
I have a little steel trap memory for numbers.
Did you major in mathematics or something?
No, that was my lowest grade of all time at Stanford was in economics. Not that that's math, but it's like, I did not understand. And my husband attests that 30 years later, I still do not understand.
Well, it's certainly impressive. Hey, so Kristi.
We can be here all day.
Let's talk and cook, yeah.
I know. Kristi, what were you slicing there? Was that like...
it's zucchini. Yeah, I was like talking and slicing. It's just zucchini.
Yeah. And is that going into, what's that going into?
It's going into the lasagna.
We've been pressing tofu without you knowing it.
Yes.
So I'm going to pour the water out.
Yeah. And we're going to throw that in the food processor and we're going to make our yummy tofu ricotta.
So you've been pressing tofu. Why you've been pressing tofu? Why don't you get like a super extra firm, high protein tofu that's like a brick?
When you send your son to the store and you ask him to get that one, sometimes they come home with a different one.
You're right.
But normally we get the super firm organic one from Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's, that's the go-to.
Brick. Love that.
Yeah, but sometimes your son comes home and he's, you know what? I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth.
Yeah.
Send my son out shopping and he says, yeah, I'll do it for you.
And he came back without zucchini, I might add.
Yes, that was me. Oh, with you. That was me.
Do we want 2 blocks?
We probably do.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So,
no.
Did you say, are you going to wear gloves? Is that what you said?
No. Let's do it because
I'm going on a 3-week RV trip in 3 days.
Are you taking this with you?
I'm taking this with me.
Okay, yeah, the lasagna's getting frozen and then going on an RV trip. This is on your travels. Traveling lasagna. So we're going to do a quick press with this one. We're just going to squeeze this one out. Sorry, Rip. What were you saying?
No. I was going to say that it looks like a lot of those products that you've purchased there are from Trader Joe's.
Yeah, we're
We
big
do
Trader
love-
Joe's fans. Yeah, I would say that we get a lot of things at Trader Joe's.
Yeah. All right. So what's the first thing we're going to be creating?
Okay, we're gonna make the ricotta, but before we create it, you're gonna take your whole wheat lasagna noodles and put hot water over them, and then just ignore them until it's time to assemble. What am I? I'm just softening up the wheat because I will never boil them. That is a waste of time, and they stick together, and I can't figure it out. And then I found out you don't need to ever boil lasagna.
It's
Even
no
if
boil
it says,
lasagna.
it usually says no boil noodle. You don't need those. Any whole grain lasagna noodle that you're using does not need to be boiled.
You just have to
I
soak
may
it.
have just transformed your life. You're welcome.
Yeah, you have. The funny thing is, you probably don't even have to soak it, but it's safer to soak it because sometimes they end up a little like chewy, and you don't want that. And the vegetables too. You can put the vegetables straight in there, but they're much better if you broth saute them first. So we're going to do that too.
Oh no,
But-
I tried that, and it was awful, and no one ate it.
Yeah, no, I know they're too hard.
They're
They
way
don't-
too hard.
Yeah.
Don't ever
You
do
have to do it for too long. It depends what veggies you can do. Well, you can do it if you grate the veggies,
Okay,
but you don't want to do it with planks of veggies.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
all right, well, let's go ahead and make this. Do you have a measuring cup?
Christy, I do need to let you know that in my Raise the Roof lasagna that was in the Engine 2 cookbook from 2009,
Yes.
I used the same technique where you just let it cook in the sauce.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's easier.
it is such a smart move. So who is one of you the better cook, or you both can? Oh, yeah.
We're both talented, but she's better.
But she's really, I mean, you've come along so much.
Your mastectomies are in.
Yeah, my mastectomies. They're really messy. No, I do not do that. I am a physical therapist, so I know a little more about science and the body than the average person, I would say.
Definitely.
But yeah, I'm not going to be doing surgery anytime soon.
All right,
So-
talk to me, Chrissy. You're making some moves here, and I don't know what you're doing.
Okay.
So I'm putting and you guys have the recipe, right? The recipe.
We do, absolutely.
Okay, so I'm putting 2 blocks of tofu. I put a half a cup of nutritional yeast.
You already got it. Okay.
And I'm putting in a tablespoon of lemon juice, some garlic powder,
Let's get into this.
and let's get into
There
this.
you go. Let's just roll up our sleeves. There you go.
And some salt. And Kristi uses this salt that is, it's like potassium.
salt.
It's potassium chloride salt. So it's not. There's no sodium.
Wait.
And I know you're not a salt fan, Rick, so we're sticking with the potassium chloride. Okay.
But I'm fascinated with this no salt salt. So what is it, a brand, or what can you tell me about it?
Oh yes, here you take. Let me put the camera down and let me show it to you. And I had 5 different brands, and I did taste tests. I did 5 different potassium chlorides. I think it's just the same.
And
Okay, we're putting a teaspoon of basil and oregano in here just so you don't miss that.
okay. So it's called Morton's Salt Substitute, and does it taste just like? Does it have the same effect as salt?
It has the same effect as salt. You just use the same amount. So if the recipe calls for half a teaspoon, that's what you use. And it, in the beginning, you'll notice it's not quite as salty, but then your taste buds adjust. And within 2 weeks, my husband, who put salt on way too much of everything, just only uses this and doesn't miss real salt at all.
And it's instead it's potassium chloride, you said?
Yes.
Wow.
Instead of sodium chloride. So you're missing out on the sodium, which is the thing that causes hypertension and endothelial damage, as your dad would wax on about. So, yes.
Okay, so this is our tofu ricotta, which took me all of 2 seconds to make. And it has like a nutty, cheesy flavor from the nooch, and it has the salt, and it has the herbs, and you can put fresh herbs, but we did dried herbs. And this can go on a cracker with some roasted tomatoes. I love stuffing it in shells, like making stuffed shells. Anything that calls for ricotta. This is your
Go-to.
your
And
new
see how
go-to.
fast that was?
Yeah, you want to try it?
Of course.
That's really.
Well, early.
And how much lemon juice was in there?
I put a tablespoon.
Mm-hmm.
And then you taste it and you can always add more.
Nutritional yeast is interesting. It actually has quite a bit of fiber. There's 3 grams of fiber per tablespoon. It obviously is a source of B12 for us plant-based folk, but I just always supplement. I'm not going to leave it to the chance of enough nutritional yeast in a given day. So always take your B12, but there is B12 in there.
I will too say, sorry.
Go for it.
If I make this to go on crackers, I usually sneak in a tablespoon or 2. I'll only use 1 block. We're making a huge lasagna, but I'll sneak in a tablespoon or 2 of hummus.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm doing it, eating it raw versus cooking it in something. You can also put hummus in it and cook it.
The tahini and hummus makes it like a richer.
Yeah, it makes it a little more umami.
Yeah.
But I usually do it without. But you can try it. You can play around and add some hummus and see if you like it better. And don't blend it too much. You don't want it liquefied. You just want it pulsed so it's like ricotta consistency. Not.
Do you have a food processor of choice that you guys have in your kitchens?
Oh, we do. This Cuisinart.
Yeah, Cuisinart. I believe I
it.
think I have a Cuisinart as well.
Yeah.
But there's so many different levels of food processors and so many different attachments. So you want to figure out, like, am I just using it like this all the time, or I'm just pulsing things in there, or am I going to use it to do vegetables, slice? Because it's great. They usually have like an upper attachment where you can grate things and you can slice things, and it's really easy if you're doing a lot. So it just depends.
For those that have not followed you guys on Cook Live with Chrissy and Dr. Kristi, whose kitchen are we in right now?
This is my kitchen. Those are my kids on the fridge.
Yeah. My kids are older than her kids.
Love it. Dr. Kristi, 2 years ago, when you were part of Plan Stock, you had just appeared on the Rachel Ray Show with your 4-point plan, and you had a food of the year back then. And I don't know if you remember what it was, but
I think it was mushrooms. Was it not?
It was absolutely mushrooms. And you specifically said that your mushroom of choice at the time was the white button because of its capacity to lower estrogen levels.
Right. So white button.
Go ahead.
The winner. So what it is it's an aromatase inhibitor. Aromatase is an enzyme that sits around in your fat cells. And all day long, it's like, give me some of that adrenal gland juice, which it gets in the form of androstenedione and testosterone, turns it into estrogen. And now, voila, you're fueling cancer. So it turns out that as an aromatase inhibitor, high versus low mushroom consumers have in different studies between like a 25 and 65% drop in breast cancer. There was this one particular study in Asian women who eat more white mushrooms and drink more green tea. So they had a 65% drop for eating the equivalent of a half of a white button mushroom a day, like the size of the tip of your thumb a day. 65% drop. When they had 3 cups of green tea a day to boot, in addition to mushrooms, it was like an 87% drop. So,
wow.
So eat mushrooms,
shroom it up.
Shroom it up. So if that was 2 years ago. Do you have a food of the year in 2024?
Ooh, gosh, this is putting me on the spot. What would it be? What would it be? Gosh, I feel like I have experimented with some new foods. What have we done lately?
I can toss out.
All right, we'll think about it. Let us mull that one over.
So I remember several years ago we talked about some things. I still like to know if you're still hot on them. So, for example, we talked about cinnamon. That you were like, okay, cinnamon.
Huge anti-inflammatory spice. I put it every single day into steel cut oats or my famous smoothie. Yep.
Oh, and then I heard you earlier, Chrissy, mention flax seeds. You guys still a fan of the flax seed?
Yeah, big fan.
1 to 2 tablespoons a day. Flax seeds have the most awesome anti-carcinogenic powers. And their main superpower is that it slows down the division rate of the cancer. So the rate at which it divides is called the Ki-67. It's the proliferation index, right? So it's a percentage between 0 and 100. The faster the sucker, the worse it's going to be in terms of outcome and prognosis.
But I will also add that you may want to start slow with the flax, maybe a teaspoon in your smoothie, because my son, I started putting flax in their smoothies. I didn't tell them like there's flax in your smoothie. And let's just say in high school, my son was having some issues at school, spending a little more time, in the bathroom than he wanted to. And I said, oh, I just started putting flax in your smoothies. And he was like very upset with me. So go easy, start easy, and then, keep adding a little bit at a time. I think that's true of a lot of things. You don't want to like go crazy the first time with something that it's going to change your gut.
That could make you unpopular with the ladies.
Exactly.
Now you guys are slicing and dicing, and we can't see what you're doing.
Okay, yes. No, we were just going to show you. So normally I would heat this. There's broth in here. Normally I would heat it up first, but in the interest of time, we're just throwing this in this pan, and I'm going to broth saute it. So how do you broth saute? You put a little broth in the pan, you get it sizzling, and then you add the veggies to it. And with zucchini, I'm going to toss it around a little bit, but it ends up caramelizing. You don't want to put a ton of broth in there and simmer them, because then you're simmering versus sauteing. I like them to come out as if I was using oil. Okay. So that they're kind of caramelized and brings out the flavor profile of the vegetables a lot more. So in the perfect world, this would be simmering already. And then I would add the zucchini, probably a little less than this. And but again, in the interest of time, and it's still going to taste good. You're going to eat the lasagnas.
Chrissy,
and I put so much zucchini in there.
Chrissy, is that a caraway pan?
It is a caraway pan. These are my pans.
Oh, yes, that's right.
So this is pink. I also have a green set that I took camping. Bad idea. Yeah. I took them camping and I destroyed my green set. So
you know what I have found is that some of these amazing pans, they don't do well at high heat. They like medium and less.
I found that out the expensive way by destroying my green caraway, which I still take camping.
Pans are rough. You can be really rough on them, and we are rough. I'm rough on my pans. My husband JD's really rough on them. He's always like, I see him with a fork. I'm like, you can't use a fork on that. So you have to either get really good ones or be prepared to change them out here and there, or get ones that aren't nonstick, like your good old Calphalon, not Calphalon. It'll pop in my head.
The PTFE.
Just like your basic pan that is not non-stick. Yeah.
And then you'll have to
versus coated, like, because the coated ones, I feel like the coating is like kind of
fragile. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you could go really good and get like La Creuset, which are the OG pans that are amazing.
Yeah.
Right, so we're going to have this going. We won't stand by it the whole time, but in the interest of time. But when you broth saute, you're going to add a little at a time, toss it in the broth as it's simmering, and it'll cook down, and you just add a little broth at a time. So it's like kind of the pan's almost drying out, and then you're adding a little more broth. And I know you know this, Rick.
What are the but this is great. It's always great to kind of revisit all this. Yeah. What are the different vegetables that you're going to have inside this lasagna?
We're going to have zucchini, as you know,
we have our white buttons
and
spinach, because we love cruciferous. The whole kingdom is a must-have at every meal.
And spinach cooks down. You can start with an enormous thing of spinach, and then you're like, what happens? I always wonder how restaurants, like,
how do they have enough spinach?
How do they have enough spinach? Because they give you like a good serving of spinach, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I know where that started. Well, I would think the whole kitchen's filled with spinach. But anyway.
Dr. Kristi, I have to ask you this question because I find it so fascinating. If you could rattle off for us, tell me, what % of breast cancer risk is genetic? What's the average age that women get breast cancer? Give me these stats, because I can't tell you how many women or friends I've talked to just in the last 3 years where, oh yeah, my wife just had breast cancer. My sister just had breast cancer. I'm absolutely stunned and amazed how ubiquitous it seems to be.
It's so ubiquitous. So in 2020, breast surpassed lung as the #1 cancer on planet Earth. So that's why it feels so ubiquitous. You would think that by 2024, we would be smarter, bigger, faster, taller, stronger, less cancer. We would learn and improve. But in fact, the numbers are rising year after year. And a recent meta-analysis of looking from 2010 to 2020 in all of the cancer databases in the U.S. showed an alarming year after year rise in cancers in people under 50. I think the number one rapid rise was in gallbladder cancer, but in breast specifically, since that's where my focus went, it was a 1% per year rise year after year in women under 50, which I don't know how you digest these stats because you don't maybe probably focus on them, but that's like unprecedented. That is a rapid train toward destruction. It is awful. So in terms of the numbers that you were asking me, the median age of breast cancer in the US, so half at and above and half below 62 is where our cancer falls. So 50% of all cancers happen in 62 up and 50% happen under the age of 62. And in terms of round numbers, we have almost 300,000 invasive cancers happening in the US this year. That is in addition to about 60,000 in situ stage 0 breast cancers. So in total, we're looking at almost 350,000 breast cancers that we have to deal with this year in some capacity, which usually translates into surgery for sure. Mm-hmm. But then what kind of surgery? Lumpectomy, mastectomy. We do a lot of over treatment, in my opinion, but still, if you're the woman diagnosed, it's alarming, it's frightening, and sometimes we get really extreme with what we suggest to do, right? So there's surgery, radiation, chemo, anti-estrogen pills, which wreak havoc with everywhere you have estrogen receptors. So yeah, we'd like to block the ones on cancer, but it blocks it everywhere. So hello, hot flashes, night sweats, insomnia, vaginal dryness, mood swings, itchy skin, thinning hair, divorce. No, divorce isn't actually a direct consequence of the pills, but it's indirect, right? Like people can feel like not themselves. They get a lot of brain fog. And that's not to mention the other things that then happen with the lack of estrogen to the heart, to the brain, to your bones. Yeah. It's a horrible thing. So, those are the numbers. When your best question so far today was what percentage of this is genetic? And here, the answer may surprise some people. It's only 5 to 10%.
Wow.
About 8, as an average, 8% of all women diagnosed with breast cancer who then test for a gene mutation such as BRCA, CHEK2, PALB2, 8% will in fact have inherited a gene mutation from either mom or dad, which means conversely, 90 to 95% of all women diagnosed with breast cancer can't blame their parents, can't blame their genetics. And you really don't want to blame fate. Although I have to say every once in a while, when I have my 27-year-old with a breast cancer who hasn't even lived long enough, badly enough to explain the genetic mutations arriving where we are right now, like that does seem to be inexplicable. But those may be the sensational stories and they're tragic. I'm not dismissing them. I'm just saying quantity-wise, they are a very, very few percent, right? So we've got under 5%, really inexplicable, maybe 5 to 10% over here, genetic, inherited mutations predispose you. But as we like to say, genes load the gun, but diet and lifestyle pull the trigger. A little bit less true, I want to say, with some of these gene mutations. In other words, they're so wicked. They just don't allow your DNA that gets mutated to get fixed very readily, no matter what you are eating or not eating, doing or not doing, thinking or not thinking. The power in kale just can't undo it, right?
Yeah.
So here we have, though, we're going to put the mushrooms in. Okay, let's go. Let's walk and talk.
Yeah, let's walk and talk.
Okay.
So you see the broth is sizzling. Okay, that's how you broth saute. There's just a tiny bit in there. It's just lying in the bottom of the pan. Now I'm putting my mushrooms in, and I'm just going to kind of stand here and toss them around, all right? You can see the zucchini is already doing its thing. It's starting to over here. Oh, you can see.
So Chrissy, how important is it to kind of saute the zucchini? Would that not saute itself in the
No, we both tried it, and it was a big fail for both of us. It was just hard. You know, when you're biting into lasagna, you want it to be like nice. You want that mouthfeel. It's like kind of like soft and it's squishy and it's not you don't want to be biting into something in lasagna.
Yeah, go like, what's that?
Chew on forever.
It's zucchini. Okay.
Yeah, and we both experienced that. If you grate it, it's a different story. I've grated it before and it was fine. But if you're doing planks, which I prefer, because I like in the lasagna, you can see it. You serve it to someone, they can see the nice soft zucchini. So I prefer that. And in which case, yes, I definitely recommend sautéing it first. And now you have the mushrooms, and you can see it's cooking off. The broth is cooking off, and these guys are we'll revisit them. You don't have to. I mean, you can saute them the whole time. Mushrooms also lose a lot of their own liquid, so they kind of sweat it out a little bit. So you don't have to add a lot of broth to mushrooms. But let
me ask you this. I'm getting ahead of myself, but do you have a whole layer of the ricotta in there, or do you just put in clumps on the top? How do you?
I do layer. So you'll see, but we layer sauce on the pan first, on the lasagna pan. Oh, we're going to use that pan. Okay, got you. So we do sauce, and then I do a layer of the ricotta, then I do a layer of the vegetables, and then more sauce and a noodle, and then I layer again, because I like spreading the ricotta on the noodles because it spreads easier because you have a hard surface.
Right.
Hard surface. Yeah. You can do clumps, but I don't know. That's just the way I do it. Everybody, you can experiment and play around, but I like every bite to have that tofu ricotta because it's so good. I don't want to have to be searching.
The clumps on top are decorative.
Yeah, those are decorative. Yeah, I finish it.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
All right. Now, so what's the game plan now? Are we waiting for this stuff to cook?
We are. So we're making celery salad, aren't we?
We're going to make a celery salad. And Rip, why don't you tell the celery salad story?
Well, okay. So when I went over to Chrissy and JD Roth's house to interview them for episode number 4 of the Plant Strong podcast in 2019, I might add, Chrissy was like, "Oh, let me make you guys dinner." And so she made dinner for me and the whole crew. I think I had 4 people with me, and she made the most incredible dinner. I remember a lentil soup that was to die for. And then I think you had another dish or two, but the thing that was most remarkable in its simplicity and its flavor profile and taste was a celery salad. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. A celery salad? And everybody was lights out impressed by it. Is that the story that you remember?
Yeah, that is. And the funny thing about that salad was I had never made that before. And JD said, "Oh, Rip's coming over with one of his producers." And then you guys all walked in, and it wasn't just, there were like a bunch of you. And luckily I had made a huge pot of lentil soup. So I was like, okay, but I can't just serve that. Like, there's not going to be enough for everybody to have seconds of the soup. So I need to make something else. So I started running through my kitchen. I'm like, okay, I have celery, I have lemons, I have smoked almonds, and I have dates. All right, that'll be good because we have the smoky and the sweet and the celery. And I'm like, so I made it, and I tasted it. I was like, oh, this is pretty good. And then luckily you loved it. So I was so happy. And we were able to feed everybody, which made me really happy because that's one of my worst nightmares is like not having enough food for people, hungry people, right? You guys are working hard, you're traveling around. I was like, so anyway, it worked out fine, but I was definitely sweating it a little bit. So as you can see, Christy's chopping the celery, and she's cutting it into pretty small bite-sized pieces, so you're not like chomping on celery incessantly. And then we have some smoked almonds, which add a lot of that smoky flavor. And I like to really chop them fine, even to like where there's a little powder, because you don't have to use as many nuts. And I know.
Do you buy the almonds smoked, or do you smoke them yourself? How does that work?
You buy them smoked. They have them at Trader Joe's. Yes. They have them at Whole Foods, and there's nothing but smoky flavor and a little salt. And we don't add a lot of salt to the salad, so we'll take it in the almonds.
And then what do you do with your dates? How do you cut those up?
Those also, I cut them really small. I half them and then like little slices. These are pitted. Yeah. Why don't you show? Or I can.
And then when you're cutting them up, I'm sure it hangs onto the knife, and you got to get all.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just here. I do that, and you always have to double check your dates, even if they're pitted. Occasionally, there's some pits in there, and that's the last thing you want to serve to someone and have them break their teeth at your dinner. So there's also sometimes that little end cap on the dates that's really tough. Like you can't chew it, and if that ends up in a food processor, it's a really big hassle because if it ends up in a blender, because then you're drinking a smoothie and you keep getting all these little pits, and it's not fun. So do take care if you're new to dates. Take care when you're chopping them to make sure that all the pits are out. So should we check that again? Is it looking different?
Looking good.
Okay, it's looking good. All right.
So mushrooms are really,
they're like they're getting.
they're very juicy mushrooms. Yeah. So there's a lot of.
Okay, yeah. So we're not gonna add any more broth.
Yeah, so you can see how we've got a lot of moisture happening coming out of these shrooms, these anti-cancer mushrooms. And then I just added a little bit more broth to the zucchini because it was starting to stick to the bottom of the pan.
I like that to happen. I like it to get like a little sticky. That's the sweet spot there, Yeah.
Hey, Dr. Kristi.
Yes.
I want to ask you, what are the 3 big priorities in your life?
God.
Yep.
Family.
Yeah.
And killing cancer.
Kicking cancer's ass. Love
it. All right.
All right. So yeah, you guys, we're getting after it.
Celery date over here. So I'm chopping the celery. My patient has this family that's made knives in Germany forever, I think. And she gave me 2 knives from their set. It's called Messermeister.
Oh, yeah.
Messermeister from Germany. This is the Oliva Elite. And this knife can cut. Let me tell you, I love it.
Nice.
The other knife I have.
I think it's good to have at least one good knife, like splurge and get one amazing knife at least. And about this size or even a little smaller than this is the one that I would pick. My friend just gave me a knife and I'm like in love with this knife. And I'm just so hoping I don't chop my finger off with it because it is so sharp.
Oh.
And also sharpen your knives. Keep them sharp. It's not fun cutting veggies or anything else with a dull knife.
No.
So Chrissy and Dr. Kristi, I have a question for you both.
We're back. Yes.
So Dr. Kristi,
yes.
When you see a patient and you say, listen, probably one of the best things that you can do to kind of kick cancer's ass is to whole food plant-based. Yep. How do they respond? Do they look at you like you got to be crazy, or do you kind of, because you are whole food plant-based, does that give you a little bit more like confidence in sharing the message and them embracing it? And Chrissy, what do your friends and family think about what you and JD and family are doing?
Yeah. You want to answer first, or you want me to answer? Okay, this is going really well over here. I'm shutting it off because we're
done with the mushrooms.
We're
those are off.
Saute. So, I mean, for me, it's easier now, right? Rip, you know that, than 14 years ago because there's a lot more awareness. There's a lot more products. There's a lot more food out there that's whole food plant-based. Because even 14 years ago, you kind of had to make your own way, right? You had to make your own food. You could never go out to dinner and find something that was whole food plant-based without someone like deconstructing a dinner and taking everything out of it and having like kind of a flavorless situation.
Found a pit. Am I pitted up?
She found a pit. That case in point. So I think it's gotten easier. I think there's more awareness. I think more people are kind of cluing into, it's interesting. I think more people are cluing into that they need to eat better, but they're not doing it. It's that doing it part that people have the hardest time getting to.
Well, I think we all hear it. Those of us steeped in the plant-based eating, You'll go out with a friend and they'll say, oh, I ate really well.
Yeah, we heard that. We hear that a lot.
We heard that last night. So
then what do you eat? And it's like,
I only eat wild caught salmon. I only have pasture raised, grass fed,
regenerative beef. Regenerative is the big, that's the big catcher. It's regenerative beef, so it's good. It's fine.
No. So from my perspective, it's really exciting. So the way I approach it is zero shame or blame game. This is exciting because guess what? You probably didn't realize that every single time you lift fork to mouth, you're either chewing and swallowing down something that is pro-cancer or anti-cancer. And don't you want to be anti-cancer? Yes, doctor, I do, right? So it's a really fun exchange because I'm like, look, here's the deal. I was writing this book. It needed to be bulletproof. I went into the nutritional science as an MD for the first time in my entire life, like 18 years into my practice. And lo and behold, I was absolutely rocked and shocked by how solid the evidence was that not only is consuming animal food detrimental to your health, but what you sub instead, fruits, vegetables, legumes, whole grains, is so healthful. It's building health. It's destroying plaque. It's destroying cancer cells. It's settling down that oxidative stress. So I explained that it all comes down to a battle of inflammation inside of you. The single most important anti-inflammatory diet that you could possibly follow is not vegan. It's whole food, plant-based, right?
That's right.
So
Oreos are vegan.
I get them excited. Oreos are vegan, beer's vegan. About the power that they hold at the end of their fork, because so far until they came into my office, and often I'm a third, fourth opinion for these people, and their minds are blown when their eyes are open wide, because they're like, wow, you're the first person who said I could do anything in addition to, I'm not always saying instead of, but usually it's okay, surgery, radiation, take this pill every day and you'll be good, honey. Just do things as you always were. You'll be good. Really? There's a lot you can do. And they feel empowered by that. Yeah. Now, I get them excited. They leave. They come back 6 months later. I would say 10% are full on plant-based. Like super embraced it, got it, understood it, used the resources I shared with them, which would be plant-based nutritionists that they can meet with one-on-one, a bajillion recipe sites online to jumpstart their minds, apps that help them, and psychologists they can see. So I really try my best to help them. It's, outside my bandwidth to hold their hand through how to actually change their kitchen.
Yeah. I know. And then in that, to that fact too, I think if you're able, and she can't do this, but if you're able to cook for people and make them food and let them see how good the food is. I had maybe like 5 years ago, I had a birthday party and I made this lasagna at my party for like 15 people. And they were all kind of making fun of me, like, where are we going to go eat after this, this lasagna?
This bird food.
They're like tofu ricotta. And like one of my friends is super Italian. She's like, tofu ricotta. Nope. And anyway, people were like, I'm so glad I made two big ones. They were gone. They were like licking their plates. So they loved it. And so they're okay. All right, we're in. What else do you have?
We do a celery salad.
And I always cook for my friends. And I always cook for my friends, and they always, I love it because every time I get together with my friends and I cook, they'll send me pictures like the next day. Oh my God, look what I got Paul to eat. Look what I got my husband to eat. Like he ate all of it and he wants it again. And he's eating this every morning instead. And it's just, it's nice. And it feels really good to have an influence on people and be able to change people's diets.
And if you don't have a Chrissy in your life to cater for you, there are some really excellent home delivery options. And I do advise people who are completely new, my patients who are now overwhelmed because they're actually navigating through the thick of cancer and they're supposed to cook in this entirely brand new way. I say, you know what, why don't you splurge, even if it's just 3 days a week, take the meal prep out of your to-do list and get these meals delivered. It also jumpstarts your imagination of like, oh, I never thought about quinoa. I just never thought about quinoa before. And look at, it's in this meal and it's so delicious with how they prepared it. So it helps you understand what you can do at home.
And there's also some great sauces that maybe like some people make and sell. Plant Strong. That's a great place to start. I always send people over to the website and, check these things out. Cause I think the sauces make a big difference, especially because like a lot of what we eat are bowls. So you don't want to have like the same thing on your bowl every single day. Like I do this awesome tahini sauce, but like even I get sick of it. So I want something else. Right. So to do like a curry or something like that, it mixes it up and it's nice.
Chrissy, you just put a sauce into the pan.
Okay, we're way more talk than cook here. All right, so here we have the pan. The lasagna noodles are soaked, so I'm going to start putting them in the pan. And I want them...
And this one has to go that way, and I always have to cut the last...
So we're going to put them in on top of the sauce. And let's just go ahead and the veggies are done. I threw spinach in there behind the scenes. You didn't see me do it, but I did it. So, because the spinach just needs to wilt, right? You don't need to go too
Wait,
crazy.
let me ask you. So I'm clear. You soaked those noodles in water, and then you took them out of the water, and now they're on the cutting board.
Yep. Now they're in the lasagna pan, and they've been soaked.
I'm okay.
Oh, it was just the tofu.
Is everything okay?
No veggies were harmed in the making of this. It was just the tofu press. Okay, so now we are going to start. Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, so here we are. With the see this? Yeah.
Now you're speaking my language.
Yeah, and it's nice and spreadable. And like I said, the noodle trick, you put the noodle down and you can spread it on the noodles. So good. And we did a lot because, like I said, I want some in every bite. And then we're going to start stacking the veggies. Okay. So we're going to do the nice and again, ideally this would have been done a little separate because we did a lot of zucchini, but honestly with zucchini, it's okay. It's okay that they're.
Can you move out of the way, the lemon juice and some of the other stuff that's Yeah. There you go. And the mug that, we are whatever, not ingredients. There you go.
Yep. Okay. How's this? Better?
Oh, love it. Yes.
All right. Here. There. Okay.
Right there. Great.
So now we have we're going to keep putting on our zucchini. Stack them.
Okay, we just use fingers.
Yeah, fingers are fine, I think.
Oh, yes.
You're going to burn you. Don't burn your fingers. She has to go do surgery with burnt fingers. Don't burn your fingers.
Yeah. You have to go do surgery this morning. What time?
Well, the patient already knows this, but it already started. So this is a joint surgery with my amazingly talented plastic surgeon who's doing something called a deep flap, DIEP.
Which takes a long time,
which takes 8 hours. So we operate side by side. So it's when you take the whole lower abdomen as a huge paddle of skin and fat. You get rid of the skin and you just tuck the fat underneath the mastectomy here. But that whole flap harvesting takes about 8 hours. So, the harvesting takes about 4 hours, and the putting it back together again takes another.
So I understand this.
She's under general anesthesia. She's having her tummy operated on right now, and then I'm going to swoop on in and do the mastectomies as soon as we're done making lasagna. Priorities.
Well, I'm a little confused. So are you taking some of this abdominal fat and then turning it into breast tissue, or did I miss that?
You didn't miss it. So what we're doing, it's not becoming breast tissue on a cellular level. It is all of the abdominal fat taken together as one piece with its blood supply. So you're going to pick it up, like it's actually removed, and then because sometimes there's another thing called a tram flap where you tunnel it. This one comes out and you get the little artery and vein that are sticking out. And then you go under where the breast used to be and you shape it into a mound, the shape of a breast. And then those two vessels get hooked up with microvascular techniques. So they wear these loops and magnify everything. It's very delicate surgery. You actually have to break through the cartilage of the rib to access the artery and vein that are there. And you sew them in. And now all of a sudden this fat has a permanent, robust blood flow. People may be familiar with liposuction. We sometimes liposuction fat from an unwanted area, love handles, what have you, liquefy it, put it in a syringe, and then just layer it into like the top of a mastectomy to create a little more fullness and slope. That's tricky because half the fat disappears. It didn't go in there with a blood supply, so it dies, and then it liquefies and your lymphatics take it away. So this flap procedure is very different and a much bigger deal in terms of recovery. Yeah. It comes with the blood supply and it all survives, and it's fabulous and soft and mobile and very breast-like. I mean, honestly, sometimes I'll go in to see people 4 or 5 years after having had this done, and I look, and for a split second, I'm like, I double check my note. I'm like, did she have a mastectomy yet? Yeah.
Nice.
So now,
how long has that procedure technology been around?
Oh, the deep flap's been around for 20 years.
All right.
Yeah.
Here we are. I'm layering. So what I've done, well, she was talking about the deep flap. I've been layering. I did another. So I did all the veggies. I poured sauce on it. I added another layer of noodles, another layer of the tofu ricotta.
Oh gosh.
veggies. I'm going to put more veggies here. I'm layering. And then I always put sauce before I put another noodle. And again,
Now, did you throw that spinach in with the mushrooms?
yes, I threw it in with the mushrooms when they were cooking. I threw it in at the end of throwing them in.
I've never cooked my spinach.
Yeah, I throw it in.
I just throw it in raw, and I would put.
You can, but I found like some of the leaves end up being like not cooked, so I just throw it in right at the end of the spinach, so it just wilts.
Now, do you? I find when I make lasagnas, I tend to err on being a little aggressive or liberal with my sauce.
Heck yeah, I do the same. Yep.
And it's still, where does it go? It's still kind of on the, not dry, but I feel like I need more when I serve it.
I top it with sauce, always. Yeah. So
what kind of a sauce do you have there?
We just tried to find a low oil, we tried to find no oil.
Okay, got it. Organic.
I know Trader Joe's has a no oil. But at the supermarket, again, my son did the shopping. He called me and he's in a panic. He's like, Mom, I can't find anything with no oil. I was like, you don't have time to go to Trader Joe's. So we found one with the lowest possible olive oil in it.
Some of my lasagna recipes, I have like 5 of them because I'm obsessed, but there's my most labor intensive one. But I feel like if you have, honestly, when these people put on the recipes, like it takes 1 hour, like
it's okay.
Okay, the prep on this, not gonna lie, it's like a 90-minute prep. It takes forever, but I love it. It's so good. And so what I do with the sauce is I put in red lentils because those like disappear, and you add a big punch of protein to it. And then I do the disappearing vegetables because kids. And then it really is just such a labor-intensive thing to saute multiple vegetables, but I love it. Like the more the merrier.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
And I always make it and I'll freeze a bunch of it, and then I'll have it. I'll have it for a few days, and then I'll have it a week later. I pull it back out, and now we're gonna top with some sauce. I need more sauce, and then I need the noodles.
Okay.
And then we're done.
How long will that last in your household?
In my household, it would last a long time, but in her household, she has 3 growing boys.
How long would this lasagna last?
Would it last 3 days?
No, it would last the duration of dinner.
This is what I'm saying about her household versus my household.
They are teenagers.
Okay, so here we're at the tippy top. This was deep enough to do 3 layers.
Hey, look who just peeked in to say hi.
Hi.
Hi, beautiful.
Hey, so I knew your voice from like 50 yards away. I'm like, he's talking to Christy Funk.
Chrissy Funk and Chrissy Roth.
Oh my gosh.
Hi. Good to see you.
Hey. It is. How are you? We heard you were there running football lanes in the backyard for exercise.
Yes. Well, yeah.
Come down so they can see you.
Oh, hi. There's no better place to be in the summer than here.
We concur. We got a little quick tour before this, and we're like,
what are you guys making?
Oh boy.
Awesome. Okay, he's getting the
So they started with a tofu ricotta, and then they're folding that into an insane zucchini squash lasagna. And then after this, Chrissy is going to assemble her patented celery salad.
Patented, yes.
Famous like a celery chopped up in a salad.
Yes, with dates, with smoked almonds, and what am I missing?
We're good.
Lemon juice.
Dates, smoked almonds, lemon, and
so incredible.
That's it. That's all you need.
Just saying those words, it's like every flavor in my mouth. I'm having a little.
Your mouth is watering. Yeah. Look how pretty this is.
Okay, yeah. So you see how pretty it is. It's gonna get covered for 40 minutes and then uncovered for the rest of the duration of it. And sometimes it's an hour. Sometimes you just have to keep checking it. I'll just kind of keep checking the noodles and kind of I'll feel the top noodle and go, oh, not ready yet. It's not soft.
Who's that handsome boy or girl behind you?
That's my beautiful Sedona. Hey, girl.
Hi.
Say hi to the people.
Hi. Oh, you're shy, aren't you?
I feel like I'd like even more sauce on this, but
Okay, I have more sauce.
yeah, one of you, I think it'll be better.
Okay, let me.
Yeah, and this is what you have to do. You go, I need more sauce. So I said have 3 jars because you're going to use at least 2 jars. Then you're probably going to add a little bit more, which we're about to do, and then you're going to want more on top of it. So,
Of course,
and
of
get all that
course.
lycopene. It's like, woohoo, what a hit.
This one is Mirror Gland. Different ones.
Oh, yeah.
What do we got going on?
All right, so we're gonna just put a little more because if I can see the noodle through it like a lot, then I don't want any of the noodles showing because it's not gonna really cook.
You know, I know exactly
We
what
didn't boil them.
you have to assess because you don't have enough of that sauce and moisture. We have a cousin who's nearby, and he said, "Oh my God, you guys, I just made lasagna, and it's like eating sand." And we're like, "Are you going to eat it?" He's like, "Absolutely. I spend so much time making it, I have to eat it." But if you don't have enough sauce, you don't. That's something you need to address.
It's a problem. It's a problem. Yeah, it needs to have enough sauce. So we have a little magic of television happening right now. Chrissy is grabbing. Oh, look! Is it hot?
No, I just put it in. Okay.
All right. So
Show them.
this is my mini lasagna. I wanted to finish one because we're not going to be on for another 2 hours as much as we'd love to hang out with you. This is the finished, and I made it in a glass. I made it in a bread pan. So you can see, and we'll cut it, and you can see what's going on there. But
Oh, that's gorgeous!
it's so yum, and we put a little of the ricotta on the top, and this is on the colder side. If it was warmer, it would look a little more bubbly. Yeah.
So we're going to cover this.
We're going to cover that. And then we're going to assemble our celery salad. Then maybe we will put this on a pan. And I like to top this with a couple pieces of basil when I serve it. So you're serving it. It looks really pretty.
Nice.
Yeah. I put basil shreds all throughout my lasagna too. If I have basil growing in my garden, I'll just shred some and put it throughout the lasagna. But you don't have to. But I'm definitely
When you say basil shreds, do you mean like a cut up in shreds?
Yeah, I just take the basil and I just make it into little strips.
I feel so chefy now because someone just gave me in the mail a pair of scissors. It looks like it's like a parking lot of scissors all in one. It's for cutting basil into equal strips.
Stop it.
Except when they're different thicknesses. That's awesome.
That's so cool. Like that.
I know. I didn't even know what to do with it, but now I do know what to do with it.
Okay, yeah, there you go. You can put it on top of your lasagna.
Okay.
Or anything. Your pasta. That sounds so good.
All right. So what do we got left? We just got the celery salad, right?
Yeah, we got the celery salad. That's it.
It's so
Hey.
simple.
Here it is. Here's our nuts, and I'm about to
away.
chop them. I usually use a chopper for this because, like I said, I like to chop them really fine and have them all really, really like almost powdery to get the flavor over every piece of celery.
I
But-
did
I
set
agree.
my timer for the lasagna to 45 seconds.
Oh, that'll be
Yes.
great. That'll be great. That'll be a lot like your neighbor's lasagna. It sounds like.
Christy and Kristi, what's your philosophy on alcohol? You guys imbibe or not?
Nope.
Nope. I don't drink alcohol as of January 1st, 2024. I stopped.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I don't. It makes me feel terrible. It's never made me feel good. I don't drink. I love not drinking. I love coming up with fun mocktails, hibiscus. You do like some hibiscus tea, which Christy gave me this enormous bag of tea bags for my birthday, and so I have a lot of hibiscus tea, and I'll do that with maybe a little ginger and monk fruit and lime, and it's just as good. But my thing, our thing. So you have to put it in a fancy glass. That's my requirement. It has to be in like whatever glass someone's drinking a drink out of, or a glass of a wine glass. That's what I drink it out of.
Champagne glass for bubbly.
It just makes me happier than like some boring old mug or glass.
I've seen you guys make some of those on your live show.
Yeah.
So what is the data just so compelling too that
Okay,
alcohol
it's more than cancer.
hit me with the numbers, Christy.
Yeah.
So we know that alcohol predisposes to cancer through creating acetaldehyde, which is a horrible carcinogen. So especially cancers of the mouth, stomach, colon, breast.
Esophagus.
Exactly. Anywhere that alcohol actually touches is especially caustic. But the data on breast is as follows. So a drink a day, what's a drink? So 12 ounces of beer equals 5 ounces of wine equals 1.5 ounces of hard liquor. A drink a day increases breast cancer by 7% in premenopausal women, by 13% in postmenopausal women. So about an average of 10% increase in breast cancer for one drink a day. Then all of a sudden, 2 drinks a day, 30% increase, and 10% for every drink thereafter. The main mechanisms seem to be the acetaldehyde and also the turning off of a magical enzyme called MTHFR, methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase, which turns folate from your leafy greens and folic acid in your vitamins into the magic methylfolate. Methylfolate's like a little DNA babysitter. So it's just sitting there, and whenever a mistake is made, it's like whoosh, and swoops in and either fixes it or throws it out. When you drink, you hit your enzyme, which sounds like a bad word, right? MTHFR. So that MTHFR gets turned off. 30 to 50% of people already have a sub-functional MTHFR genetically. So just from birth. So then it's a double whammy, and you're not making the babysitter. And so your DNA is free to mutate and propagate and proliferate. But alcohol just doesn't stop there, does it? No, it's an actual direct neurotoxin. So all that neuroplasticity that we like to think about, our brains laying down new neuronal pathways, learning new tricks as we age, staying sharp like your father, it is a direct toxin to all of this youthfulness inside your brain. Oh, but we're not done. Then it goes down to your gut. And I don't know why it knows this. I'm sorry to my drinkers out there. I feel for you as a former, love to imbibe, especially my red wine. This is what's happening. It's going down there to your hard-earned, gorgeous microbiome with your plant-based eating and destroying only the good bacteria, leaving you with the crappy bacteria. So when we say good bacteria, that means these are the ones that are taking all of your food and turning it into happy neurotransmitters, increasing dopamine, increasing the protective layer of your colon itself, right? So you don't get bacteria translocating there and creating inflammation of the colon, IBS, and eventually cancers with that chronic inflammation. And short-chain fatty acids, or just all of this goodness is getting destroyed by the alcohol because it's destroying the bacteria that create the goodness. And finally, don't stop there. Many people drink just to take a load off. Like, it was a really long, hard day. Just stop. I'm making the lasagna. Isn't that good enough? Like, don't tell me I can't make it with my glass of red, right? Well, I'm telling you that you're looking for, that ramps up your cortisol, not for a minute, not for an hour, but all throughout the next 24 hours. So now all of a sudden it's tomorrow night, and you thought you needed that drink last night? You are even more amped up because you just elevated cortisol for the last 24 hours.
Isn't that something? Yeah. I've talked to more people that are wearing their special little rings or their Apple Watches, and they've discovered that once they have that glass of alcohol, totally disrupts their sleep. Their elevated resting heart rate goes up, 15 beats per minute. It's wild.
Yeah, it is wild. But Jinx, yeah.
1, 2, 3.
She can't talk. So basically, a choice to drink is a choice not to sleep well tonight.
Right. Isn't that something?
Yeah. We're going to show you.
Yeah. So you've been hard at work. What have you been doing?
The whole time.
These almonds need to be chopped fine. Like, they're dusty.
Oh my
gosh. It's gold dust.
It is. It's gold dust. Okay, so we, again, in the interest of time, because we didn't pre-chop, we would have a lot more celery in here, and we're going to add it later, but we're going to just do it quick so you guys can see it. I'm not going to add all these nuts now because it's too much per the amount of celery.
I have a whole nother story.
Yeah, no, I know. That's why we'll do it. So we have our dates and
we need lemon juice, fresh squeezed lemon juice.
And then just some fresh squeezed lemon juice. And I just kind of eyeball things with this salad. I mean, come on. The first time I made it, I was definitely just eyeballing it, and it came out fine. You can just, if you love smoked almonds, add a little more. If you're not that into them, just add a little.
This salad is nailing your tongue to the wall. Like it's got the smoky, the sweet,
Yes.
the celery. It's like
Yes.
your tongue is just like going to be so distracted. You're like, oh, you got
That's
me.
exactly right. That's what it does. Yes.
Now, Chrissy, I know people are going to ask,
Yeah.
what if you substituted walnuts for almonds? Have you tried that?
I'm a huge walnut fan. Walnuts are my favorite. I don't, maybe they would work. Honestly, I love walnuts and celery together. So I don't know, try it. That's what I would say. But I do love the smoke and the salt of these smoked almonds.
I wonder if you could just throw in a little liquid smoke and chopped almonds.
I don't know.
That may get you that.
Or chopped walnuts, he's saying.
A little drop of that. I don't know. Chop walnuts, but then they're not smoked walnuts. So
right.
Add smoked.
I have a smoked walnut recipe that I put a tiny bit of maple syrup so it grips on. They can't put a lot because then it turns into like candy, but you put a little bit of maple syrup and some smoked paprika in the bowl and then add your almonds. Or sorry,
That would be great in here. Yeah. Easy. Yeah. That sounds so good. All right, we're going to try this. I'm going to wash my hands. And
we have to have this tonight.
Yeah, let's do it.
very casual. Like we're very casual with when we're making her food that like each other's going to eat. But like I probably wouldn't use my hands this much if I was making it for guests.
Oh, I would.
You would? I'm not. I'm trying to be a little.
Could use a little more lemon.
Lemon. So needs more lemon.
Got it. Hey, you two. On the way out, I got a question for each of you. So we're learning how important it is to express gratitude. What are one or two things that you guys are grateful for in 2024?
I'm grateful for my decision to stop drinking alcohol. I would like to say I had a huge physical transformation. I didn't. Probably, I didn't. But my watch said I slept better, so there's that for sure. I didn't wake up with more energy. It just didn't. Probably because it wasn't messing with my life per se. But the decision impacted my children. They noticed. And what I wanted them to see at the age of 15, now that they're going to remember it, right? It's if you're drinking, especially too much, stop. No matter how old your children are, but your 2-year-old is not going to remember it or thank you. But in my Mother's Day card from my kids, one of them wrote, "Thank you so much for going dry." That's what he wrote. But when he said going dry, I was like, "Did you think I was full blown alcohol?" It just seemed like he's transformed. But the point is well taken, that he noticed and he knew I did it in part for them as an example. I wanted to show them it's never too late. You can do anything you want to do. And even though this was a part of our lifestyle and our parties that we had at the house, it doesn't have to be that way going forward. You just make a decision, you make a change. So I'm grateful for having made that decision and for the response that I got from my children, because they really did notice it impacted them in a definite positive way. And I think that will empower them going forward to make what could be considered hard decisions, and to stick with them and to be proud of themselves. Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Well done.
Yep. And the second thing I'm grateful for is the 3-week RV trip we have coming up. I'm finally going to get those kids off screens, and we're going to go hike in Zion and water ski in Lake Powell. And I'm just grateful for family time.
That sounds dreamy.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. How about you, Chrissy?
Yeah, I'd say number one, I'm grateful for my family, the amount of time I spend with my family. I have 2 adult children, so 20 in college and one who just graduated college, which I'm also very grateful for. So he just graduated, but I'm grateful for the amount of time that they want to spend with us.
Yeah.
Because I know some kids leave and they're like, later gators, but our kids still want to hang out with us. We just went to Switzerland and did a hiking trip and hiked up mountains and stood by the Matterhorn and got the pictures of it behind us and walked out. It was absolutely outstanding. And not just because of the mountains, it was just that our kids got along and they wanted to be with us, and we did everything together, and never was a time where they were like, oh, we're going to go do something on our own. It was really special. So grateful for family, grateful that my parents live with us 5 months a year in our guest house. And so I'm really grateful for that. The amount of time, because I moved from New York to California to go to physical therapy school and I moved away from my family, and now they get to spend time with us. So really, and I know you guys spend a lot of time with your family too. So I know that you can relate to how special that is. And I feel really, really lucky. And I also, I guess the other thing I'm grateful for is just getting like a little more into my fitness back. So I'm teaching spin again. I haven't taught since COVID, and I'm really enjoying that. So that's been fun. And I'm also, I'm a PT. I haven't seen patients in a while, and I'm back to treating patients. And I'm really grateful for that because it brings me a lot of joy. I'm working with very sick people, and it's challenging, but it's been really great. So I guess that's what I'm grateful for.
Beautiful.
Wonderful. Well, I'm grateful for you two. I'm grateful that you guys decided to join us for part of Plan Stock 2024. Love the recipes. Love the education. Love the banter. Love the moving of the ladder. I mean, this is awesome. So much fun.
I need to add that while we were talking, I added salt and pepper to the celery.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Okay, yeah, it needs that.
No salt,
It needs a little no salt, and pepper, or like it needed it. So I want to forget about that.
I'm grateful I got to be here at the end. Like, wow.
I know. I'm grateful to see you. There's so much to be grateful for.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. But I'm so thankful to see these amazing recipes because we have to make dinner tonight.
Yes, we do. And we'll let my daughters tackle the tofu ricotta lasagna.
Yeah, do it. Let them tackle it. It's fun. It's a fun project.
All right, you guys. Hey, on the way out, can I get a nice virtual Plant Stock fist bump from you both?
Of course.
Boom.
Go Rip. We love you. You guys are the best. You really are. You really are.
That's you. Chrissy and Dr. Kristi.
Check us out. Goodbye.
Thanks again to Christy and Kristi for their time, their talent, and all their knowledge. We are so lucky to have these two in our corner, keeping it plant strong. I want to thank you for watching and listening to this episode. For more information on Dr. Kristi Funk and her practice and programs, go to pinklotus.com. As always, thanks so much for listening and sharing these episodes with loved ones and friends who may potentially benefit. Truly, this is how we keep the show growing, and it's also how we keep the whole food, plant-based movement heading in the right direction. As usual, always keep it plant strong. Thanks. The Plant Strong podcast team includes Carrie Barrett, Lori Kordowich, and Amy Mackey. If you like what you hear, do us a favor and share the show with your friends and loved ones. You can always leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And while you're there, make sure to hit that follow button so that you never miss an episode. As always, this and every episode is dedicated to my parents, Dr. Caldwell B. Esselstyn Jr. and Ann Cryle Esselstyn. Thanks so much for listening.